Vanderbilt. The 38-year-old Whites agreed to take the Vandy women's job at the end of the WNBA season. She'll be reunited with her old college coach, Carolyn Peck, a former Vandy star, who will now serve as the team's associate head coach and run the program until White arrives.
Will you be fined again?
I am not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. You know, I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. And you know, I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain.
It is now confirmed. Stephanie White has officially walked away from the Indiana Fever, and not at the season's conclusion. She exited right in the middle. Let us be clear, this was not one of those polished mutual agreements the league usually spins to cover messes. She stepped down right as the rumors around her were ready to erupt. Why? Because yes, there is video evidence. Clips that allegedly show her skipping not one but two Fever games earlier this summer. And here is the kicker, her absence had nothing to do with illness or family obligations. Sources claim she was instead spending time with her partner, reporter Lisa Salters. And this is where things heat up. One of those missed games happened on June 19th, the exact night. Lisa was smiling on national television while covering Game 6 of the NBA Finals. So if Lisa was courtside working, where exactly was Stephanie? Was she really tending to Lisa's unwell mother, as she claimed? Or was she simply relaxing while her own squad fought without her? Fans have already pieced the puzzle together, insisting Lisa's influence at ESPN is the only reason this mess has stayed buried. People whisper if Lisa could make her old O.J. Simpson coverage disappear from the web, these tapes never stood a chance. And perhaps that is why Stephanie abruptly resigned before the league could even step in. Because if those clips surface, this will not look like a coach casually leaving. It will be the kind of scandal the WNBA cannot sweep under the rug. The truth is, Fever supporters had turned on Stephanie White long before any video ever surfaced. Most never wanted her hired in the first place, and her treatment of Caitlin Clark had fans walking away months earlier. Think back to that press conference. A reporter asked White who the team's leaders were, and she rattled off 3 names, leaving Caitlin off the list. Left out the same Caitlin who has been selling out arenas, shattering viewership records, and carrying the entire franchise on her shoulders. That clip exploded online for all the wrong reasons, and the public never saw White the same again. Then came the moment that sealed her fate. She poured praise on Kelsey Mitchell for surpassing Tamika Catchings in 3-pointers made, no doubt. Kelsey deserved recognition. But for many, this was the sign that Stephanie's priorities were misplaced. The rookie who was electrifying the league and drawing unprecedented attention was ignored while the veterans got the spotlight. By June, Fever discussions online were chaos. Fans were demanding she be fired. Some claimed she was wrecking Caitlin's rookie season. Others argued she had handed control of the locker room to the vets, while Caitlin absorbed the blame. And, with every loss piling higher, the noise only grew louder. So when the scandal finally hit, hardly anyone was surprised. They had been predicting her downfall for months. To Fever fans, her resignation was not shocking at all. It was simply confirmation.
After 2 months of investigating, they found that Aces star Derica Hamby was mistreated and found that Hammond did violate a respect of the workplace policy during a conversation with this player. The league didn't say exactly what was said, though in a statement it said the comments were made by Hammond to Hamby in a connection with Hamby's recent pregnancy. The WNBA has docked the Aces a 2025 first-round pick following.
And now those same fans are not just celebrating her exit. They are demanding a full reset, a new coach, a new system, and maybe even cutting ties with the veterans she kept protecting. Because if Stephanie really was building this franchise around the wrong people, then it is not just her that needs to pack up. The entire structure might need to be torn down. But here is the part that is even louder than the leaked footage or the fan outrage the players themselves. Since Stephanie's sudden resignation, not a single Fever player has posted a thank you message. And in pro sports, that kind of silence is not just unusual, it is screaming. This is the same woman who, back in her Connecticut Sun days, went viral for fiercely defending Alyssa Thomas when trolls crossed the line. Back then, her players stood behind her with no hesitation. There is even that clip where Stephanie went off on the people targeting Thomas, showing she could be passionate and protective when it mattered. But fast forward to now, and it is nothing but crickets from her own roster. No support, no loyalty, no public gratitude. That is when this whole situation starts to feel less like a scandal and more like a cover-up, because at the center of this entire mess is one name fans cannot stop, pointing to Lisa Salters, the same Lisa that fans swear has the kind of power to make entire stories vanish into thin air. People still bring up how her old O.J. Simpson trial coverage mysteriously disappeared from public archives years ago. And the wildest part, Lisa herself once spoke about that very era. Back when she was just starting out in journalism, the same coverage people now claim was wiped without a trace. And now, the whispers are louder than ever. Stephanie skipped not one, but 2 Fever games.
Not right now, but we've seen a lot of racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia throughout the course of our country. Sport is no exception, and it's unacceptable, to be quite honest. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that, and is that I say we because I work in television as well, but we in the media have to do a better job of not allowing trolls in social media.
Still no penalties, no suspension, not even the usual league-issued statement. Nothing at all. Meanwhile, Lisa was comfortably courtside at the NBA Finals, smiling on national television with her ESPN spotlight, untouched. Fans are not fooled. By the silence, they are calling it exactly what it seems to be: protection. And the longer the WNBA refuses to speak, the worse the optics become for everyone connected. Because if Lisa truly had the reach to erase coverage years ago, what would stop her from pulling the same strings today? And this is the detail that has people genuinely uneasy. It does not feel like a small slip-up. When you trace the pattern back, it looks much bigger than 2 missed games. Stephanie White's coaching journey has been stuck in the same loop, time after time. Heavy anticipation when she takes the role, chaos once things get going, and finally, a bitter ending that leaves everyone questioning what collapsed. Look at Vanderbilt as an example. She entered with massive expectations, the supposed savior of the program, the leader who was meant to spark a turnaround, but by the time she exited, fans were frustrated that the team looked worse than before she arrived. Recruiting lagged, chemistry never developed, and the program basically stalled. Media reports during that stretch even noted that the decline was underway long before she left. Then came the Connecticut Sun, her next opportunity. The talk was, maybe the college game just was not her lane. Maybe the pros would reveal her strengths, but only 2 seasons later, gone again. Another departure, another storm. Behind the curtain, the storyline repeated itself. Whispers of locker room issues, players dissatisfied, and a front office convinced she was not the coach to lead them to a title. And here's the punchline.
And what we want to do is we want to bring a championship here to Connecticut. We have the pieces to do that. We have the mentality to do that. We're going to put the staff together that puts the best product on the floor and puts our players in position to be successful night in and night out.
She had promised fans that she was going to deliver a championship, but instead of hanging banners, she walked away with nothing except more controversy attached to her name. So when the Fever decided to bring in Stephanie White, supporters were already skeptical. They had seen this type of story unfold too many times before. Now, the real question is not just how this chapter ended, it is whether this will be the job that officially closes the book on her coaching future. Because honestly, what franchise is going to risk it all on her after this? And here is what is being dragged just as hard as her messy departure: her priorities. For all the times Stephanie criticized refs or complained about how physical teams were against Caitlin Clark. People are now pointing out how misplaced those comments were. The receipts are out there. Stephanie herself once admitted at a press conference that Caitlin had to adjust to the league's physical style of play. Fans remembered that moment, and they are not letting her off the hook today. But none of that compares to the night things completely unraveled. June 19th, one of the Fever games she supposedly skipped because Lisa's mother was ill. That was the story given to the public. Yet while the Fever were battling on the court without their coach, Lisa was smiling on national TV, sitting courtside. At the NBA Finals, no hospital visits, no family emergency. And right in the middle of that controversy, Stephanie brushed it aside like it was just a sudden situation she could not control. Fans say that was the exact moment when the whole thing started crashing down because the excuses stopped lining up. That excuse Stephanie used, people say it did not add up back then, and it certainly does not hold weight now. What makes the situation even uglier is how the WNBA itself is being called out over it. When you compare Stephanie's actions to how the league punished others, the double standard looks impossible to ignore. Look at Becky Hammond, one of the most respected coaches in the sport. She was hit with a 2-game suspension, and her team even lost a 2025 first-round draft pick after allegations of workplace misconduct and giving impermissible benefits to a player. The league made it loud and clear that they were cracking down, and it goes further. Sophie Cunningham faced discipline for a flagrant foul. Diana Taurasi got fined just for skipping media obligations. Skylar Diggins-Smith had her salary cut because she missed practices. The message has always been straightforward. Break the rules, and the league comes down hard. But when it comes to Stephanie, a coach who skipped multiple games with excuses that do not make sense, the same standard does not seem to apply.
Sophie is just, her personality is just infectious. She is naturally a gifted leader. She's naturally a connector. She brings great energy, and so her voice carries. People listen. People are impacted by it. She knows the right thing to say. She's another one that really has a coach's mind, and she leads by example with how she shows up every day. And so certainly Sophie and Sid have been great voices of reason in our locker room. Continue to be AB as well. I think AB's one of the best leaders that I've been around. She's got great perspective. She's a high IQ player. She's young in terms of her experience in our league, but she's wise.
And what was the result? Absolutely nothing. No fines, no suspension, not even a token statement from the league. To fans, it screams exactly what it looks like, a shield of protection from the very top. Stephanie White was given the chance to slip out quietly, while the WNBA sidestepped every tough question tossed their way. But the bigger question hangs in the air. What is coming next? Stephanie may no longer be in the picture, but the storm she left behind is still raging. The league has yet to confirm whether she will face penalties, if a suspension is on the table, or why those skipped games remain ignored. Meanwhile, the Fever still have not announced who will take over coaching duties, leaving the whole franchise hanging in uncertainty as the backlash keeps building. And here's the twist that has fans talking louder than ever.
Me, I was 28 years old. I had made it to the network, so I was pretty proud of that because, aspiring journalists, you want to get to the network by the time you're 30. I was at the network, but I was also covering, the trial of the century. So that was pressure. That was stressful. It was my first network assignment, and it's something that everyone was watching. And I mean, everyone was watching that.
The clips making the rounds online are only the opening act. Word is spreading that more footage is still in the vault. And if those leaks ever see daylight, Stephanie's troubles could jump from messy to career-destroying. This would not just be about Indiana anymore. She could end up blacklisted from the sport entirely. If the WNBA wants to prove they hold everyone to the same standard and are not shielding insiders, they might have no choice but to turn her into an example. If the rumors about what is hidden on those unreleased tapes are even halfway true, this scandal could do more than finish Stephanie White's career. It could drag the whole league into a crisis that will be nearly impossible to escape. What do you think comes next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and share this story around. I'll catch you in the next one.